Do you really believe it's possible to drop nearly 60 pounds in your later years without ever hitting the gym or starving yourself? It sounds like a fairy tale or just another marketing gimmick. But what if I told you the answer was written down over 1,000 years ago? Today, we're talking about the incredible story of a woman who, at 70 years old, managed to lose exactly 28 kilograms. She didn't use some expensive modern drug. Instead, she turned to an ancient secret from the legendary physician Avicenna and one remarkable miracle root. In this video, you'll discover the exact recipe that forces the body to literally melt away years of stored fat. I promise you, this information will completely change how you think about aging and health. You'll finally understand why all your past diets failed. Are you ready to hear the truth that modern nutritionists are keeping quiet? Then settle in and get comfortable. And before we dive in, let me know in the comments, do you think losing weight after 60 is actually possible, or is it just a myth? To understand how this miracle happened, we need to take a quick step back into history. Ibn Sina, better known in the West as Avicenna, was the greatest physician and philosopher of the medieval East. His masterpiece, the Canon of Medicine, served as the primary medical textbook in Europe for centuries. Avicenna didn't just treat symptoms. He viewed the human body as a single, interconnected system. His medical philosophy was built on the balance of temperaments and bodily fluids. He classified every physical state as hot, cold, wet, or dry. Here is the most fascinating part. Avicenna viewed excess weight as a disease caused by excess cold and moisture. He argued that as we age, our internal digestive fire begins to fade. Food is no longer processed correctly. Instead, it turns into a cold, sticky sludge that settles on the waist and hips. It was this exact ancient principle that helped our heroine completely transform her life and finally shed that heavy burden of extra weight. Let's start by tackling the single most common myth out there. Many people believe that once you hit your 50s or 60s, weight gain is just a natural, inevitable part of aging. We're constantly told that our hormones are shifting, our metabolism has slowed to a snail's pace, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. You've probably heard it 1,000 times. Just accept your age and buy a size up. But is that really the truth? Even doctors often just shrug their shoulders when a mature patient complains about weight gain, dismissing it as just a part of getting older. Think about a situation thousands of women find themselves in. A woman decides to take charge and goes on a crash diet. She survives on nothing but salad leaves and plain water, obsessively counting every single calorie. And what happens? She feels constantly weak and lightheaded. But the scale, it doesn't budge. Even if she manages to lose a few pounds, they come roaring back the moment the diet ends. This happens because, at this stage of life, the body sees extreme dieting as a serious threat to its survival. It goes into panic mode and begins to store every single crumb as stubborn fat, especially around the belly and hips. Today's story is about a woman who lived through that same dietary nightmare. At 70 years old, she felt completely worn out, as if her body had aged far beyond its years. Her weight had climbed past the 100-kilogram mark, making even a flight of stairs feel like an impossible mountain. Her knees were in constant pain, and her back throbbed under the heavy strain. She tried every trendy diet recommended by friends or TV experts, but the result was always the same: 0. With every new attempt, her health declined, and her spirits sank. But the most frustrating part was how weak these conventional methods made her feel. The common myth that you should simply eat less to get healthy just didn't work for her. For her, less food simply meant having less energy to live. She was in total despair until she happened to find a translation of an ancient treatise by Avicenna. What she read there went against everything modern health magazines were preaching. She suddenly realized that the enemy wasn't the food she ate. The real struggle was against the internal cold that had taken hold of her aging body. It was a true epiphany. Let's take a closer look at Avicenna's ingenious philosophy. Think of your body, specifically your digestive system, as a wood-burning furnace. In your youth, the fire inside burns bright and intense. You can toss in almost anything: fatty meats, sugary treats, and that powerful flame incinerates it all, turning it into pure energy. But as the years pass, the great Persian physician noted that our internal heat begins to fade. The fire weakens until it's barely smoldering. So when you're in your 70s and you load that furnace with heavy meals or even raw, cold vegetables, the wood doesn't burn. Instead, it just sits there, stagnant and smoking. This is exactly why you feel bloated, heavy, and exhausted. According to Avicenna, this undigested mass turns into a cold sludge. This sludge eventually forms that stubborn, age-related fat, a sort of biological insulation meant to keep your internal organs from freezing. This is why simply eating less doesn't work. If the fire isn't burning, even a tiny splinter won't catch. The real solution isn't to cut back on fuel, but to reignite that internal flame. And that is exactly where this miracle root comes into play. Searching for a way to rekindle her inner fire led our heroine to some remarkable discoveries. In his ancient teachings, Avicenna classified all foods as either warming or cooling. This is where we uncover one of the great myths of modern health: the idea that all vegetables are equally good for weight loss. From the perspective of ancient medicine, this is a critical mistake. Take cucumbers or tomatoes, for example. They have a distinctly cold nature. If an older person with a sluggish metabolism eats a massive bowl of salad, they're only adding to that internal cold. Instead of burning fat, their digestion grinds to a halt, leaving them bloated and uncomfortable. Rather than losing weight, they end up struggling with inflammation and water retention. Avicenna urged older people to turn to warming spices and roots instead. But which one is the right choice? Nature offers so many. Ginseng, for instance, is warming, but for a woman in her 70s, it can be far too aggressive, potentially causing spikes in blood pressure or restless nights. She needed something different, a root that works gently but effectively, something that doesn't just overstimulate the nervous system, but reaches deep into the tissues to literally melt away stubborn, cold fat from the inside out. And now, drum roll, please. The secret lifesaver turned out to be ginger root. Yes, you heard that right. The very same ginger you can find in any grocery store today. But don't click away just yet, thinking you've heard it all before. The real secret isn't the root itself, but exactly how Avicenna recommended using it. There's a massive misconception that simply tossing a slice of fresh ginger into your tea will make the weight magically melt away. If it were that easy, we'd all be walking around with perfect physiques. Our protagonist discovered through ancient texts that fresh ginger mostly works on the surface. It's great for sweating out a cold, but to target deep-seated, stubborn fat, especially the kind that comes with age, ginger needs to be prepared differently. Avicenna wrote that to break down cold phlegm in the body, you need dry heat. That's why she started using dried, ground ginger instead. But she didn't use it alone. She used it in a specific, potent combination that triggered a literal metabolic alchemy within her body. And the results? They didn't keep her waiting for long. How exactly does dried ginger root work within the aging body? Think of it like a mountain stream in late winter, trapped beneath a thick layer of ice. The water underneath barely moves. In a similar way, our lymphatic system can become sluggish over the years, allowing toxins and fats to accumulate in our tissues. But when you introduce a drink based on Avicenna's ancient ginger recipe, a true thaw begins. Ginger is a powerful natural vasodilator. It encourages the blood to flow more freely, warming every cell from within and giving the metabolism a much-needed wake-up call. The body senses that its internal fire has been relit, meaning it no longer needs to hold on to fat for insulation. Those fat cells begin to release their stores, converting them into vital energy. It's an entirely natural process that doesn't stress the nervous system. Unlike chemical weight loss pills that leave your heart racing, high-quality ginger root acts like the gentle morning sun, steadily melting away the winter snow of excess weight. The first week of our subject's experiment yielded some truly unexpected results. She followed the traditional instructions to the letter. The recipe was simple, but precision was everything. She took half a teaspoon of high-quality ground ginger and added a cup of very hot water. Not boiling, though. According to ancient wisdom, boiling water destroys the plant's vital energy. She let it steep for exactly 15 minutes under a tight lid. But there was a secret ingredient involved that most people today have never heard of. To prevent the ginger from irritating the stomach lining and to ensure better absorption, the great healer Avicenna recommended adding just a few drops of high-quality ghee or black seed oil. This completely debunks the modern myth that you must avoid all fats to lose weight. On the contrary, the healthy fat in this drink acts as a delivery system. It helps the potent compounds in the ginger gently reach the intestinal walls and start working without causing any irritation. So, why the oil? Let's look at a simple analogy to understand why this step is so crucial. Imagine you've got sticky pine sap on your hands. If you try washing it off with just water, cold or even hot, it's not going to work. The sap just smears and stays stuck. But if you apply a little bit of ordinary vegetable oil, that stubborn sap dissolves instantly, and you can easily wash it away with soap. Something very similar happens inside our bodies. Stubborn, stored fat is a lot like that sticky sap. The active compounds in ginger are fat-soluble, meaning they reach their full potential only when combined with fats. By adding a drop of oil to her ginger tea, she was creating the perfect formula to break down her body's fat reserves. On top of that, the oil acted as a buffer, protecting her stomach from excess acidity. She drank this golden elixir strictly 30 minutes before breakfast and 30 minutes before lunch. She avoided taking it in the evening, though, as its powerful inner fire could easily disrupt a restful night's sleep. And within just 7 days, she began to notice the first incredible changes in her body. By the end of the second week, her body began shedding what doctors often call water weight. But this wasn't just simple dehydration. Years of poor diet and a weakened heart had caused her body to store massive amounts of excess fluid in her tissues. By the end of each day, her legs would swell so much she could barely get her shoes off, and her rings would dig painfully into her fingers. The dry ginger acted as a gentle, yet incredibly effective, natural diuretic. It kick-started her kidneys, helping them flush out a stagnant lymphatic fluid. Imagine finally shedding a heavy rain-soaked winter coat that's been weighing you down for years. That is exactly the kind of lightness she felt. In those first 2 weeks, she lost nearly 5 kilograms. While most of that was toxic water weight, the change in her body was undeniable. For the first time in a long time, she could breathe easily. The shortness of breath that used to haunt her, even on a flat walk, simply vanished. Best of all, she didn't feel a hint of exhaustion. On the contrary, she felt a surge of energy she hadn't known in years. The shift in her energy levels was nothing short of extraordinary. At 70 years old, she suddenly realized she no longer wanted to spend her days lounging on the couch in front of the TV. She felt a genuine urge to get outside. It started with a simple walk around the block, but soon she was heading to the local park every day. This wonder route was doing so much more than just burning fat. According to the ancient teachings of Avicenna, it was restoring the natural flow of vital energy through the body's meridians. This brings us to a common myth, the idea that we need liters of coffee or energy drinks to stay alert. But caffeine only offers a temporary spike, inevitably followed by a deep crash and nervous exhaustion. Ginger worked differently. It provided a steady, gentle warmth and a consistent flow of energy that lasted all day. It was as if she had tapped into an invisible power source. She even began a light morning exercise routine, something she hadn't even thought about in 30 years. Her body was actually craving movement, because that inner fire finally demanded to be used. As she entered the second month of her new lifestyle, things really started to get interesting. Her body finally began tapping into its deepest, most stubborn fat reserves. Her clothes were literally sliding off, skirts spun freely at her waist, and tops hung loose as if they were still on a clothes hanger. Losing 60 pounds is a massive strain on the skin, especially at 70 years old. We've all seen it. Rapid weight loss in later life often leads to sagging skin and a gaunt face, making a person look much older than they actually are. But this is where the wisdom of Avicenna's ancient recipe truly shined. Ginger is incredibly rich in antioxidants and natural compounds that trigger the body's own collagen production. By boosting circulation through even the tiniest capillaries, it delivered vital nutrients directly to her skin cells. She soon noticed a healthy, rosy glow returning to her face. Fine lines began to fade, and remarkably, the skin on her arms and stomach started to firm up and tighten as the weight dropped. She didn't look exhausted or haggard. Instead, she looked refreshed, vibrant, and years younger. The turning point in her health journey was the complete transformation of her digestive system. Chronic constipation is a silent but devastating issue for millions of older adults. It's not something people like to talk about openly, but irregular digestion effectively poisons the body from the inside out. When waste lingers, toxins are reabsorbed into the bloodstream, leading to frequent headaches, poor sleep, and a constant, draining sense of heaviness. A simple remedy of ground ginger and a touch of oil solved this problem for good. Ginger naturally stimulates the digestive tract, waking up lazy muscles and getting them back in sync. Think of it like the old plumbing in a house that's become clogged with rust and debris, where water can barely trickle through. This miracle root acted as a powerful, yet safe, cleanser for those blockages. Once the pipes were clear, her entire body returned to life. She began absorbing nutrients efficiently, and the painful bloating she used to feel after every meal completely vanished. Her stomach, which had been as hard as a drum for years, finally became soft and flat again. But the road to a healthier body wasn't all small wins and progress. She hit a major psychological wall. Society tends to hand older women a specific script: stay home, bake for the family, and bond over shared aches and pains. So, when she began to transform, shedding the weight and truly glowing, those around her reacted with worry and occasionally a hint of jealousy. People would ask, "Are you sick? Why bother losing weight at your age? It's too much for your heart. You're going to hurt yourself." Those words stung, and for a moment they made her second-guess everything. But then she remembered the wisdom of Avicenna, who taught that true health is the perfect harmony between body and soul. She decided to stop listening to people who were stuck in their own ruts and had no desire to change. Instead, she listened to her own body, which thanked her every single day with a newfound sense of lightness and a life free from pain. She proved to the world that it is never, ever too late to change your life for the better. At this point, it's important to debunk the myth that ginger is somehow dangerous. Of course, moderation is key. Her friends had warned her that ginger would burn her stomach or send her blood pressure through the roof, and they weren't entirely wrong. If you start eating the root by the spoonful, you're bound to run into trouble. But as the legendary physician Avicenna once famously taught, the only difference between a medicine and a poison is the dosage. Just half a teaspoon of dry powder, properly steeped and balanced with a drop of oil, caused no side effects whatsoever. In fact, it did the opposite. By improving her vascular elasticity and reducing fluid retention, her blood pressure, which had once been a constant concern, finally began to stabilize. She soon realized she was reaching for her blood pressure medication less and less. At her next checkup, Even her doctor was stunned. He stared at her blood work in disbelief. Her blood sugar had completely normalized, and her bad cholesterol levels had dropped significantly. Speaking of sweets, one of the most remarkable things about this wonder root was how it completely reshaped her relationship with food. Like so many of us, she used to turn to sugary treats, pastries, candy, and cookies for comfort. We often use sugar as a quick fix for energy and warmth, even though it's ultimately harmful. But once the ginger stabilized her inner fire, those cravings for simple carbs just vanished. You see, ginger is incredible at balancing blood sugar levels, which prevents those sudden spikes that lead to intense hunger. She found she could walk right past a bakery display without even a second glance. The desire for sugar was gone. Instead, her body began to crave real, nourishing food, a pasav roasted meat, fresh fish, or a warm serving of sauté vegetables. Her system was finally choosing the right fuel, because it was now equipped to get the most out of every bite. This was exactly the kind of natural self-regulation that Avicenna described so extensively in his ancient medical texts. It's been exactly 6 months since she had her very first cup of ginger tea. Today was the final weigh-in, a day she'll remember for the rest of her life. As she stepped onto the scale, the numbers settled on a weight she hadn't seen in over 30 years. 28 kilograms. Gone. It wasn't just about the weight, though. She had shed years of fatigue, health struggles, and deep-seated insecurities. Imagine carrying 2 massive buckets of water everywhere you go. That was the heavy burden her joints and her heart had to endure every single day. But now, that weight is gone for good. Her knees no longer ache or creak through the night. She has completely transformed her wardrobe, filling it with the kind of beautiful dresses she never even dreamed of wearing before. But the most incredible change is in her eyes. That spark is back, the pure joy of living, and a newfound confidence. She finally realized that age is just a number, not a life sentence of sickness and struggle. You might be wondering, how can I start using this method today? It's actually quite simple. Avicenna left us with very clear instructions, and the key is to start gently. Don't rush into brewing a strong infusion right away. First, find some high-quality, pure ground ginger with no additives. On your first day, use just a tiny pinch, literally just the tip of a knife. Mix it with warm water at a comfortable drinking temperature, and add a small drop of flaxseed oil or ghee. Sip this drink slowly, about 30 minutes before breakfast. As you do, pay close attention to how your body responds. You should feel a gentle, pleasant warmth spreading through your stomach. If it feels right, gradually increase the amount over several weeks until you reach half a teaspoon. Make this your new morning ritual. Imagine that every morning you are rekindling the inner fire of your life force. This simple step takes only 5 minutes a day, but the benefits for your entire body will be truly profound. To make Avicenna's method work to its full potential, our hero introduced one small, yet game-changing habit. It all comes down to her evening ritual. Remember how we discussed cold mucus and how it creates fat? Avicenna believed that the body accumulates the most cold at night, while we are still and asleep. That's why he taught, that your final meal of the day should be as warming and dry as possible. This means no cold salads straight from the fridge, and no chilled yogurt or kefir before bed. She made sure to finish her dinner at least 3 hours before hitting the pillow. Her meals always consisted of warm protein and cooked vegetables. For example, a piece of roasted chicken served with a warm zucchini and carrot stew. To boost the effect even further, she added a pinch of black pepper or turmeric to her food. This allowed her to keep her digestive tract warm until morning without overloading her stomach. As a result, her body kept burning fat every single minute, even while she was fast asleep. The best part, the weight she lost stayed off for good. See, most diets today follow a pendulum effect. You drop the pounds quickly, only to watch them come rushing back, often bringing a few extra pounds with them. This happens because your underlying metabolism is still out of sync. But this miracle route worked differently. It didn't just flush out water weight or burn fat. It completely recalibrated her body's internal thermostat. Think of it like a smart home's heating system. Once you set the sensors correctly, the house maintains that perfect temperature automatically. That's exactly how the ginger worked. It balanced her enzymes and digestive hormones until her body started running like clockwork. It no longer felt the need to stockpile fat for emergencies like hunger or cold. She kept enjoying her morning drink just to stay energized, and her weight remained perfectly stable, month after month. This story is living proof of the incredible power hidden within ancient wisdom. We've become so dependent on synthetic drugs that we've forgotten one simple truth. Nature has already provided the perfect remedies for our bodies. Avicenna understood human nature far better than many modern scientists do today. Think of the 70-year-old woman who lost 28 kilograms. She became a true inspiration to everyone who knew her. She proved that health and vitality aren't just a stroke of luck or a gift reserved for the young. They are the result of understanding the laws of nature and treating your body with the respect it deserves. It's time to take your health into your own hands. Don't be afraid to trust remedies that have stood the test of time. Let the simple yet powerful ginger root be your first step toward a new, vibrant, and energetic life. No matter how many candles were on your last birthday cake. So let's wrap up this incredible transformation. Losing over 60 pounds at the age of 70 is a massive achievement that shatters every stereotype we have about aging. Her secret wasn't about starving herself or spending hours at the gym. It was about understanding the body through the ancient wisdom of Avicenna. By using simple dried ginger, brewed correctly with just a drop of oil, she was able to reignite her internal digestive fire. This easy morning ritual melted away stubborn fat, flushed out excess fluid, and eased her joint pain, truly bringing back the joy of an active lifestyle. Her journey proves that the body is capable of healing itself at any age, as long as you provide the right natural tools. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If this story inspired you, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. It really helps us create more content like this for you. Now I have a question for you. What natural remedies or spices do you use to stay fit and healthy? Let's talk about it in the comments below.